Don't look back, you may find another clue. The Scooby Snacks will be waiting here for you. What the Scooby-Doo? We're coming after you. You're gonna solve that mystery. I see you, Scooby-Doo. The trail is back to you. What's the Scooby-Doo?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of the Black Tower Podcast, a Wheel of Time podcast.
Thank you for joining us for your weekly dose of madness.
Indeed. I am Daniel.
And I am Josh, your storm leader, your Sorovan Mahale.
And unfortunately, we are missing, at least for the beginning of this episode, our battle leader, Senor Andrew. He is with us in spirit,
Yes.
but he will be...
He's alive.
He's
alive.
Yes.
Don't worry. When we say missing, he's here in spirit. He is still alive.
Indeed.
To that we know.
Yes.
I mean, we did
as
send
far
him
as we're aware.
to the blight, the new blight. I feel like after the events of Tarman Gaidon, there would have to be a new blight somewhere, right?
Why?
Well, there's still all the nastiness. There's put on Fane, who's still schlumming around, right?
Yeah.
So maybe he's got tainted artifacts from Shadar Logoth. And he's like dropping them in places all strategically, trying to get people all nasty. That would be the new blight. It'd be even worse than the old blight because it would be like it would travel.
Well, the real question, though, is clearly Mashadar is still present within Padan Fane. However, Shadar Logoth and the Mashadar that was part of Shadar Logoth is now gone.
Is no more. That is correct. It did, son.
Is it even really that powerful outside of Shadar Logoth in just the body of Padan Fane?
I believe at one point in time, Robert Jordan was asked about the entity once known as Padan Fane, and his comment was that was probably the most dangerous individual in the series, with the exception of the Dark One himself.
Well, exactly. And so what I'm saying is, I think in those comments, he was actually just going ahead and saying, though, that as villains. Because I don't think he was necessarily putting people like Rand in that category as well. Because, of course, I think that the most dangerous entity in the entire world of Randland is Rand al'Thor. But he's using his powers for good, so he's not really dangerous. I mean, he is for that, city.
I don't know. I mean, I could see that, but I feel like with Padan Fane's acquaintances and his mergings and his, just this isn't even my final form, I feel like he does make for a pretty dangerous entity.
Let me be clear. I am not trying to take away any of Padan Fane's dangerousness. I agree.
Well, and so then as this becomes, established throughout the series, and the only reason I brought that up was to state that I do believe that as a Mashadarian agent, that he can, spread the wealth, so to speak. And even though its potency may be lessened, how is that potency grown? By planting those seeds within people, preying on their darkness, and it just You know,
Oh dang it! Now we're back to the question of the taint, and does Mashadar work the same way?
I mean, it's a
an
different kind of
infinite
taint, right?
that then gets passed on to others and becomes an infinite well in them as well, or is it a finite quantity of Mashadar
Well,
that then actually becomes less in Padan Fane as he spreads it around?
I
Wow.
think Fane is COVID-19.
No, Fane is not. Well, Fane might be the initial COVID-19 because unfortunately there are a number of people who now can fight off COVID-19, and I'm pretty sure there's nobody in Randland who can actually fight off Padan Fane.
Well, except for Rand.
Well, I what I mean by that is if Rand were to pick up a no, that's fair, because I guess Matt is immune to Padan Fane's Mashadar now. He couldn't fight it off himself, but he got a vaccine from the Tarvalon witches.
Mm.
And now
he's vaccinated. Get your children vaccinated against evil entities of the world.
No. Those vaccinations cause autism.
They cause taint and madness. So where I was going with that is that I think normal people, if a normal person were to come in contact with a tainted object, it would be like Matt, right?
Yeah.
Originally, back in book 1, where it's like it slowly steals your life away. Yeah. But Matt wasn't spreading that to other people, right?
He could have, though.
He could have. And maybe given some longer exposure to it, he would have. But
I think it even says that it says that he would have become like Mordeth.
Yeah.
Had he actually not been given treatment, if you will, when he did.
Right. And so the point, the thing that I say here is, what new potency or ability did the Dark Ones touch on Padan Fane? This is, so just so you guys know, this is the brain candy section of the show, which is normally given in the pre-show, but this one's, since they were doing the Watt takes, hashtag Watt take on Twitter, all I could think about is Padan Fane lately, and I'm just like, this guy's insanely powerful.
Josh?
Yeah.
Josh?
Yeah.
Have you picked up any artifacts or treasures recently?
Well,
is that why Padan Fane is the only thing you can think of?
There was a shiny dagger.
Oh God! We need to get to him. Where's Dumber Flynn? Flynn, where are you?
Get now! But no, but I did find some fun things.
He was remodeling his bathroom, and
I did find a fun artifact while remodeling my bathroom.
I think you posted a picture of it.
I believe I did. And for any who missed it, this is a true story. I found, you know what? Maybe that was that. If that's a tainted relic, that's got to be like the worst kind of tainted relic. I feel like if I found that left by Padan Fane, like that gives me nightmares just thinking about it. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight.
The wellies.
But no, I found a box of vintage condoms from like the 10s. It's crazy. I don't even know where the dude who owned the house before me got them.
Right.
So, but that was fun. But anyway, so what I was thinking is there is a bit of a loose end, as it were, because we don't really know what happens to Padan Fane.
Correct.
So it's kind of like, okay. I mean, I know the wiki page says that Matt kills him. Oh, wait. The wiki page says Matt kills him. Hold on. I might be messing up here, dude.
It's possible.
Let's see. Formatting. No. Robert Jordan has confirmed rumors suggesting that he may be something entirely new, an entirely new amalgamation never seen before in the pattern. Yes. He also did confirm that the destruction of Shadar Logoth did not affect Fane.
Yeah.
So dangerously he can kill a Jumara with just his dagger. He also appears to have become both completely insane and almost inhumanly psychotic. He comes across a group of Trollocs and Myrdal and attacks them with Mashadar.
Yep.
His Mashadar is so powerful, Myrdal seem to die instantly instead of remaining alive till sunset.
Damn.
The mist has a strange effect on Trollocs, corrupting them and raising them, as he now finally... corrupting them and raising them as almost zombie-like slaves that Fane believes will fight even more viciously than they did before he enslaved them.
Gross.
He has now finally decided to stop the hunt and kill Althor. Yeah, dude, he's a freaky dude. And then apparently he is going according to the name of Shazam. And he basically just walks across the battlefield at Thakandar, like with his Mashadarian tendrils,
fucking
sucking everything up. And then apparently, let's see, man appears to believe Fane is his only weakness. He is able to spread Mashadar by consuming the souls of Trollocs and men, and appears to believe Fane is his only weakness, which he can eliminate as soon as he reestablishes himself in a new location, as he had in Shadar Logoth. Mashadar touches Matt, who appears to die. Shazam finds Matt lying on the ground pretending to be dead. Matt rises up, surprising him, steals the dagger, rams it into Shazam's heart, finally killing him.
Yeah, no, I do remember. That's such a small part of the book.
It's such a teeny...
Dude, there's so much else going on around it. So
right?
I guess there is no new blight.
Well, and it also goes back to that.
I mean, like, again, does Matt kill Fane? Or does Matt kill the whole entity?
And that's the thing, is what happens to Mashadar after Fane dies.
Yeah.
Because Mashadar is still linked to relics of Shadar Logoth. And if that dagger has survived... I don't know. That's just... there's your moment of brain candy.
Jesus, this gets so weird after you start really. Fuck.
That's why we're here. It's why we're here.
It is why we're here. Actually, why we're here today.
Oh, snap. Do you want to tell them really why we're here? That's cray. 20
minutes into the 20 minutes into the episode here, we are actually going to start talking about our legitimate topic. So here on the Black Tower, we have actually done a book review of all of the 14 books in the main series of the Wheel of Time, and we've given you takes, we've given you reviews, we've given you spoilers, we've given you tangents, we've given you all the things. We've sometimes taken like 7 episodes on a book, depending on the book. But there is one book that we have yet to really talk about much in the series, and that's because it's not really part of the main series, but it does give us a lot of fun, new, wonderful information about some characters that we see who are very much a part of the main series. And that book is New Spring. I guess we don't really need to do a lot of spoiler warning. Josh, you want to slap on the little bit of spoiler warning for this book itself?
I will slap on the Mashadarian tainted relic I found in my bathroom of protection.
Please don't use those.
Okay, so here's this. A New Spring does contain some spoilers for the main series.
True.
However, it is a standalone book. So what I'm going to say as far as a spoiler warning goes is that for the bulk of the series, you're safe. If you've not read the series, you can follow along with this. However, we will be discussing the entire book of A New Spring. So if you have not read A New Spring and you are concerned with being spoiled, this is your warning. And if we come up to something that is a spoiler in the main series, we will try.
Yeah, we will at the very least do our best. And
We will
I feel
try.
like we'll actually do a pretty good job, even if we might not be perfect.
We are never perfect.
That is our tagline right there. We will do our
like
best,
it. I
even
like
though we will never be perfect.
I like it. That makes me happy.
Ashaman will always do his best.
That's right.
Even if he is tainted as fuck.
I mean, sometimes our best is just, tainted.
Tainty as fuck. Yeah.
It happens. It happens. Okay, so we start out in A New Spring.
Let's start at the very beginning.
Start at the very
A very
beginning.
good place to start. When you read, you begin with New fucking Spring.
New. So, fun story really quick with that. I was through
The Looking Glass.
Through the Looking Glass, yes. I want to say I was through like book 12 before I even knew New Spring existed. Like, I didn't even know that New Spring was a thing, and I was that far into the series. And then I was like, well, shit, what do I do? Do I read A New Spring now? Or do I wait till the end of the series and then read it? And at that point in time, I decided that I'd wait till the end of the series and read it. And it was actually a fun little thing because it was like one of those, I got to see the bulk of the series and I got to see everything happen. And I was at the end of the series after Retirement Guide and I was like, oh, and then it kind of like, you know what? Let's just take a trip back in time. Let's take a trip down memory lane.
Let's take a journey, loved
What
ones.
happened to get to this point?
No, it's true. I definitely read New Spring pretty much when it came out.
Nice.
I don't remember where I actually was or like what book I was waiting for. Because I think I take that back. I think I read it right after the book that came out after it came out.
Well, obviously
I'm pretty
after
sure
it
that
came
I
out.
actually No, the one after. So like New Spring was already out, but I had also missed it. And then the next book came out, which what was that?
It was originally published in 1999, believe it or not.
Yes. And then it was re-released in 2004.
In 2004 as its own. Yeah, it was released in 99 as a short, as how Asimov did his, collection series of short stories, and I think H.P. Lovecraft did the same thing. This one was a series of short stories from different authors. It was a compilation.
Yes.
And it was one that Robert Jordan had submitted for that. And
so the answer is I actually ended up reading it after Knife of Dreams, because again, I had kind of heard that it came out a little bit, like I had heard musterings and whatnot, but it wasn't actually its own book,
right?
And it wasn't actually a published book that exists.
Right.
It was, the short that you were talking about. It was only available, if I remember correctly, online or in a magazine.
Right.
And then when Knife of Dreams came out in 2005, so actually more than a year after the book was put out, I was at Barnes & Noble Oh God, that fucking dates me. I was at Barnes and Noble.
Oh yeah.
And I was
At
literally
least you weren't
there
at Hastings.
for the release, not party, but like the you would go out and you would get the book. And I was there with my sister because she got me involved in the Wheel of Time. And we were both there with our mom, and we are standing in line waiting for our copy of Knife of Dreams that I wasn't even going to get to read until like 2 days later, because that was the order in which we read it. Stephanie read it first, and then I read it. And she was incredibly fast at reading, so it only took her like 2 days to read the whole thing. But that definitely still meant that I got to see the book, hold it in my hands, and then hand it back for 2 days.
Right.
But while we were there standing in line, we saw the like table that had all of the Wheel of Time stuff on it. And so it had, Eye of the World all the way through Crossroads of Twilight. And on that table was New Spring. And we were like, what the fuck? What is this? And I was like, oh, I did actually hear something about this, but I couldn't read it because we didn't have access to it. Whether it was either you had to like pay for it online or like you had to get the magazine or whatever, and I just couldn't get to it. And so I was like, cool. So we picked up the book that day, and I read New Spring while she read Knife of Dreams. And then we finished them at about the same time.
And then you swapped?
Yes.
That's
so
that
was
awesome.
what happened for that book. And I loved it because the way that we read things in our family, nobody else read The Wheel of Time in my family. It was just my sister and I. But literally every single person in my family read Harry Potter. And so we would do the same thing for the Harry Potter books where we, whoever wanted to go, because it wasn't all of us, would go down to the Barnes & Noble and wait in line for the next book. And then it would get handed to my sister. Stephanie was the fastest reader in the entire family. She would read it first, and then she would hand it to my mom, who was the second fastest reader in our entire family, and she would read it next. And then it went to my sister Anastasia, and then it went to my sister Elizabeth, and then it went to me. Because my dad would read it eventually, but he didn't really care about like reading it immediately. So it was the order in which people were able to read it. And even though I was actually faster at reading than my sister Elizabeth, it was not actually like that different, and she was older, so she got to read it first. And so I was always fifth in line to read all of the new Harry Potter books, and it was always so frustrating because while my family is very good and they never actually spoiled anything from the books, I was so worried about it for the entire like week and a half, 2 weeks that it took people to read those books. And I was always just sitting there being like, somebody's going to fucking say something at dinner. Somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to say that Dumbledore dies at the end of
Dumbledore dies on page 112.
And I'm going to be so angry. And it never happened, but it was always a possibility. Also, spoiler alert, if you somehow have gotten to this point in your life and didn't know that Dumbledore dies. Just saying. Anyway.
Yeah.
But fun stories about reading New Spring.
Yeah, no, well, and that was, you bring up Harry Potter too, and I remember, it was, so I loved reading Harry Potter as well, don't get me wrong, and I mean, book 7, I stayed up all night. It was one of those, I went to the midnight release, I started reading it, and it was like, one more chapter, oh shit, my alarm's going off, I've got to go to work, and I finished the whole book in one setting, and it was insane, and I loved it. Well, part of the reason I was so good at finding out when those books came out was because I was so terrible when the Wheel of Time books were coming out. So, like, I think Winter's Heart was out for like 8 months before I knew it was out. And I was like, son of a bitch, you've got to be kidding me. And so I like ran down to the store, read the whole thing. And it was just like, oh shit. Now I've got to wait another 2 years for the next one.
No, it's true. Because and along with that, I didn't even really know about the Wheel of Time until I was, I want to say I was 8 when my sister first introduced me to the series, and it was on a family trip. We were on vacation to New York, or really just the New York area, like that kind of whole historic colonial, you know, seeing all of the sites in New York and Philadelphia and you know, Boston and all of this different stuff. On that trip, we were doing so much walking, which was definitely the way to do it. Like, I am not actually complaining at my parents. I did a lot of complaining during the trip because my feet hurt. But I do look back at it with much fondness, especially because, again, as we were walking around from place to place all over the place and doing, you know, all of these different touristy things, my sister literally just told me the entire plot, effectively, of the Wheel of Time. And not just not the whole Wheel of Time. She basically kept it to the Eye of the World and the Great Hunt. But she was so excited about it, and I was so excited about it, that it made her even more excited about it, because, again, very akin to us, anytime that you meet someone who is interested in the books of the Wheel of Time, they don't even have to have read it. If you're just explaining anything about it and they're like, oh yeah, tell me more, it's like a drug. It is absolutely like a drug. It is. And so I was being her high, and she was telling me this like amazing story, and I was just like, fuck yeah, let's do this. And so she told me like all about this on the trip. And so I didn't actually pick up the books until almost 2 years later, because there was actually, I know I was only 8, but there was a lot going on in our family at that time. And so I just didn't get really a chance to do it. So I was like 10 years old. And this was 2001. So there were a bunch of books that were already out. Like, right.
Well, that was...
So, you know, I guess, yeah, it was, it might have even been 2002. Yeah. But either way, you know, there were a bunch of books out. And so I had sort of missed the release of a bunch of these books, but I picked it up in 2001, 2002, read all of the books in like 6 months. Right. And then, of course, as you said, you know, had to wait for new ones. But at that point, once the new books started coming out, and I think the next one was 2003. Right. We were at the midnight release for every single one after that. And my sister literally still has the hardcover copies of every single book, because she actually bought with her own, you know, allowance money and job money and whatnot, you know, depending on how old she was when it came out, every single book on the night that it came out. Nice. And that's so she awesome. Has effectively, I guess, I don't know how far back it goes, because she was really into the series, you know, long before I was. So I think she started buying them at sort of like the midnight release, and sort of first editions effectively at like fucking Shadow Rising. And so maybe Fires of Heaven. And so yeah, she's got like really a full collection of just everything from at minimum Fires of Heaven through the end of the books in that's just awesome. Dope ass hardcover.
Well, and see, that's kind of like what I had, only like I said, when it, you know, when Winter's Heart came out, and I was just like, oh shit, I didn't even know it was out, you know, so I went and go buy it. I started to get to the point where I could, you know, pick them up pretty on the spot. But now I'm to the point where I'm like, well, shit, if I want the first release, first print, I have to go online and find it. And I am proud to say that the only one that I do not have that is a first edition, first print, is the Two Towers. Once I get that one, my collection will be complete.
And I will be Towers exciting. Being Lord of the Rings or Towers of Midnight?
God damn it. Why do I do that? Towers of Midnight.
Okay, cool.
Son of a bitch. The taint has me. It's the taint. Hashtag blame the taint.
To be fair, by Towers of Midnight, there are the two towers.
That's what I'm saying.
And the white, and so I mean,
well, and there's also the towers of the Aelfin and the Eelfin. Like, there's a lot of two towersness happening
Yeah, no, there are a lot of twin towers.
There's a lot of 2-tower energy.
It's just, I'm really hoping that nobody crashes a show wing into any of these twin towers.
Right? Oh, too soon.
I made myself sad.
Does showing fuel melt tower?
Ooh, don't do it. Don't do it. Inside job.
No.
But anyway, now that we've actually, talked a lot about, because I really love this part of the podcast, so I definitely don't want to actually like slow it down or stop it when it's happening. Because honestly, the stories of how things happened in the real world, if you will, are sometimes not more interesting, but like on an equal playing field as the stuff that actually happens in the books. But now on to the actual events of New Spring and the book review.
Now to the subject at hand.
Reading it. No. I mean, again, what happened around our reading of it, I think is
true. That's foundation work.
Very much. It's foundation work, and it really. This is a book review. Like, if we were just talking about, like, chronologically, what happens in the book, like, that might be one thing. This is a book review, and going ahead and giving some background on where we were in our lives when we read it, and what was going on, and how we actually got, introduced to certain things, really does, in a lot of ways.
It's true.
Sort of affect your review of the book.
Yeah, I can see that.
If I read the Harry Potter books now, I would not feel nearly as sort of, they wouldn't hit me nearly as hard, because of course I read them when I was about that age. So all of the things that were happening to Harry and his friends were things that were happening to me. I mean, sans magic, but like all of that angst, all of that hormones, all of everything was like, yeah, no, I feel you, dude. 100%. I'm with you. Like, I'm there.
Bro, what is wrong with Hermione? Come on.
Right? Jesus. Wait, Hermione got all of this, like, magic plastic surgery in book 4? Fuck yes. I'm in. I was not a Hermione fan. I mean, like, I was, because she's very impressive as an entity, but, like, looks-wise, I was not a Hermione fan. She sounded hideous. But then all of a sudden, fucking book 4 comes out. Yule Ball is all, and I'm like,
blossomed
Cinder fucking Rella.
Like a rare flower.
But anyway.
New Spring was pretty cool, because it's like, most people were either, like I said, already finished like me, or nearing the middle crescendo or the end crescendo of the main story. And then all of a sudden there was this like, hey, do you want to see how Moraine got started?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, whoa, I would love to know more about Moraine. Hey, what about Lan? Would you like to know more about Lan?
It's literally
I'm sorry, Lan.
That I fucking love.
Shit,
like,
Lan.
Dude, Moraine is great. Shut your stupid face hole.
Don't say it wrong.
There isn't a wrong way. Josh.
Yes, Daniel.
Josh.
Yes, Daniel.
That's fine. Do it. That helps me make my point. But Moraine is so awesome, and okay. Spoiler alert. Moraine is conspicuously absent from a large swath of the books.
Yes.
And fucking she's such a good character that when New Spring came out, that I was just like, yes, give me more. Inject that.
Give me more Moraine
into my fucking veins.
Give that sweet, sweet Moraine.
and then, of course, going ahead and finding out, about finding out more about Lan and their relationship and how it happened and all of this different stuff. And then finding out more about Swan Sanche.
Yeah, no, Swan was
Sanche is
definitely
also
the
such
other
a
one.
fantastic part of New Spring. It's so great.
Yeah, I'd say it's like I'd say it's lip service for those three, because it largely centers around Moraine and Lan, but
Correct.
you've got because of how closely connected Swan and Moraine are, you get more Swan, and you actually get some new characters as well. New-ish characters.
Yeah.
So
some of them you hear mention of from previous, but don't really get to see them or hear much.
Well, and
but
some of them are
names.
straight up dead when the main story comes to light.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so, like, you hear a little bit about them, and they're like, oh, yeah, this person who's now dead. And you're like, all right, cool. I guess that's a thing that we know now. And then you read New Spring, and you're like, oh, shit, now I actually know things. It's great. And again, one of the things that I really appreciate is that in the main series, Moraine and Swan have a number of either interactions with each other or interactions with other people where they talk about each other.
Right.
And how close they were when they were accepted, and how much leeway Swan Sanche gives to Moraine
Really,
as the Amerlin seat of this fucking. I mean, we all obviously give a shit, but like half the sisters in the tower are like, fucking Moraine, just blue sister nobody gives a shit about kind of thing.
she was a nobody.
Yeah,
She really was. She was, and
I mean, she's not, I guess, because to be fair, she is like royal family Korean, but like as far as Aes Sedai are concerned, meh.
When through the filter, through the lens
Sister
of Aes Sedai, she wasn't anything
Moraine.
spectacular. She wasn't anything impressive. She was Moraine. And when Swan Sanche was raised to the Amaryllis seat, and then she was like, okay, Moraine, yeah, you know what? You can go. And Moraine was like, boom, done, out, gone, bye. Because they had a mission.
Yeah. Well, and of course, again,
nobody knew about it. Nobody cared about it because, according to the tower, Moraine was just like every other Aes Sedai, newly raised to the shawl, and they pack their bags and they run from the tower because they want to go see the world as an Aes Sedai.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kind of does that. So they kind of think she's doing that. Well, years go by and she doesn't come back, and they're like, okay, now Moraine's that Aes Sedai who just disappeared into the world, and we don't know what
She's
the hell.
The one who went on Rumspringa and then never came back.
Yeah. I like that.
No, and
That's
again,
good.
I also love how like they do such a good job in the main series of talking about how Swan and Moraine play that shit up like crazy.
Yeah.
In terms of like they were novices and accepted together, and they were inseparable. They would pull pranks on people. They would get in trouble together. They would end up in the Mistress of Novices study like pretty regularly. And then once they're raised, they'll do a really good job of making everybody forget
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Because, again, as you said, they have a mission to do. And going ahead and making it so that Moraine is quiet and gone and everybody forgets that she and Swan were close is so helpful to going ahead and making their mission that much easier to do. But again, you're also like, why is Swan Sanche giving her so much leeway? And New Spring helps explain that. And you also see them as like good friends. And so it's literally like the two facets of their relationship that you're like, I know that in 20 years, you guys are going to pretend that you don't even really know each other.
But as funny as it may seem, our story doesn't even start with Moraine leaving the tower.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, no. It starts before that.
Our story actually begins long before Moraine. Back when the world was new. And Randland was down on its luck. And everywhere
People-
gigantic brutes called... I don't...
I'll ran amok.
It was a nasty place. There was lamb and blood wherever you stepped.
Carrying in blood. Wherever. I love it. I love it. That's the new hotness right there.
I love it.
And then along came nobody really came and routed them though.
And then along came Lon.
No. Well,
No, he
Lon
just hung
fought.
out with Moraine.
He fought in the IL. No,
He did.
I think he fought in the IL war, but he wasn't.
did.
He didn't know nothing about Moraine at the time.
No,
he
it's
was
true.
just he was
They
just
meet
some
afterwards.
real badass Malkieri.
I mean, he was just trying to get himself killed.
Yeah, he was
Like he basically does throughout
like-
the entire set of books.
right. It's very Viking of you, Lon.
It's very fun.
Looking forward to Valhalla. I love it. No, so the story begins.
Is it bad that every time somebody says lawn now, I just picture Harrison Ford just standing there, get off my lawn, get off my lawn, throwing people off the top of like the White Tower.
Oh my god, that makes me so happy right now. Just Harrison Ford yeeting people off the White Tower. Just, off my
People that
lawn.
have tried to fight Lan.
Yeah,
Get off my
Josh, the image made me happy, and then you used the word yeet, and now I'm very angry.
Yeet
What's wrong with yeet?
myself off a bridge.
You just
It's-
yeeting.
Take Discord
I
with me.
like you. And I do not want to bring up your age whatsoever, especially given that actually, Andrew, as the youngest member of the podcast, still shouldn't be saying yeet, because
Are you
makes
saying-
you sound like Steve Buscemi being like, how you do, fellow kids?
So you're saying I'm too old to say yeet?
I'm saying all of us are too old to say
All of
yeet,
us are
but
too old to
yes,
say
that
yeet.
is definitely what I'm saying.
Does that
either
make
live
you
long enough? You either die early
either
enough to yeet,
die
or you
a
live
hero.
long enough to be yoked.
to be yoted?
Baby Yoded?
Baby Yoda. I like it.
God.
So our story begins at the end of the Isle War. Toward the end of the Isle War, the war is winding down. The Isle are not retreating. They're not retreating. They came, did what they got to
They're
do.
packing up and returning home.
They're heading out, and
They're packing up the fifth.
as all these wetlanders are like, oh, come on, and they're like, yeah, whatever, swatting away the flies.
No, hold me back. Hold me back.
Yeah, oh yeah, okay, guys, okay, yeah. And they're headed back.
We shall face this unprecedented threat. And the 4th of July will no longer be remembered as an American holiday, but as a
But
day
as
that
an
the world
IES
declared in one
holiday.
voice. We will stand up and fight.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't remember
Whatever
the
it
speech,
is.
but you get where
Whatever
the fuck
it
I'm
is.
going, right?
I like it. Yeah.
But they're all sitting there. We have Guitarra Amoroso, who is the keeper of the chronicles, right? And then we have Tamra, and I don't remember her last name, but she's the Amarylline seat.
She has
Tamra
her last
Sadai,
Her last name
Ospenya.
is Keeper of the Sea, or Watcher of the Seals.
Watcher of the
His name
Seals,
is Ospenya.
keeper of the flame of Tarvalon.
Y'all better not
And
be
she
clubbing those seals.
is-
Those are mine to watch.
And she's the
Her
Amarylline seat at
last
the
name
time.
is Ospenya.
And there are two young
Tamra Ospenya.
accepted. There are two young
They are.
accepted, and they are the Amarylline's attendants. And they're just
Come on,
sitting there
Josh. I haven't
chilling.
even read this book, and I know they're accepted.
Oh, you haven't read this one yet.
Nope. I have not.
Damn it, Andrew. Are we going to
Hey,
spoil the
Andrew,
shit out of you?
Well,
remember
nope.
the
It's
beginning
definitely
of this
fine.
episode where you weren't here?
Yeah, I do, because I almost
got it.
yeeted my fucking computer out the window. My computer
you
was
have to
almost
go-
yoked.
You gotta go back to that point because you didn't do the homework.
To yote or not to yote? That is the question.
No,
When
it's
we
okay. We're actually happy that we're here.
We started the whole podcast thing. You know, Aaron hadn't finished the series, and I hadn't read Newspring. And I was like,
See?
I'm not reading Newspring until I finish A Memory of Light in my reread.
Well,
And
perhaps
I haven't done that yet. I haven't read this, so it's almost like retribution for like helping spoil the entire end of the series for Aaron.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's about as close as I can get.
moment of silence for Aaron getting spoiled.
I mean, it was his choice,
In
but
the
still.
arms of the angel.
For just 25 cents a day, you can
Your
help a
donation
young reader
could
like
help.
this avoid spoilers on Twitter.
Your donation.
Join our
or
Patreon now.
Your help could help make sure that no other Aaron gets spoiled. Anyway, Guitarra and Tamra and Moraine and Swan.
And two young accepted are sitting there chilling, and all of a sudden Guitarra jumps up and she's like, "Oh shit, fam, we got a problem." And
He is
she
born again.
bolts out with this
on the slopes of
foretelling.
Dragon Mount, he is reborn. He will bring
Yes.
devastation and salvation to the world, and you will know him as the Dragon Reborn. And then she dies. She fucking dies.
Coming. The foretelling is so powerful, she falls over dead. So now there are only 3 people in the world who know that the dragon has been reborn. Think about that for a second. There are
Also,
3
guys-
people in the world who know the end is near. And that's not just a cute platitude that some dude in, Queens is wearing. No, this is for real. This is the real deal. The Big D himself is back.
Big
Hey.
D energy.
Big D energy.
Also, just petition for Guitarra to be gender bent and played by Werner Herzog. Just throwing that out there.
Ooh.
Just saying.
I mean,
I mean,
there's
he
that
can even
whole
cross-dress. I don't care. Just I want Werner Herzog to say the foretelling. That's all I want.
maybe you could do like, isn't there like a service where you can get a celebrity to record a phrase?
Cameo or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Cameo. Or
Yeah.
it'd be even
like
better.
the service. I know what like an actual fucking Cameo is. I watch Marvel, but there's like apparently a service called Cameo where you can ask
Yes.
like celebrities and people that aren't celebrities to do
You
things.
can get Morgan Freeman to read for you what you would like to have read.
I regret
He
to
will do
inform you, madam, that I have been recently diagnosed with several STDs. We have thought that Morgan Freeman's voice was the best voice to tell you that you need to go and see a doctor. You have 3 weeks to live. My prayers are with you during this trying time, my dearest Elizabeth.
Would you like an egg in this trying time?
Can I offer you an egg?
That's what it is. So Guitarra falls over dead. She did. She done.
Are we ever actually?
And then
gonna make a
Tamara
series?
goes,
I don't know,
Tamara's like-
hey, if I wasn't here, probably, honestly.
do you know, this is actually pretty cool callback because it reminds me of when Swan is recruiting Egwene and Nynaeve to say, to hunt down Dark Friends. And I feel like Tamara kind of looks, she's like, well, shit. I've got these 2 accepted here. They're the only ones that I can really trust. I don't really have a choice. I kind of have to trust them at this point in time.
Well,
Hi.
it's where Swan got the idea to go ahead and use Nynaeve and Egwene.
Exactly.
She was
Dang
like,
old
you know
deja
what
vu,
worked really well?
Yeah.
Boom,
Well,
Howard Woman. God dang deja vu, man.
well,
I
and
don't
there's
know, they're over there. They're over there.
Dang old Hadouken, man.
There's
Black Aja.
there's well, and there's several callbacks to it too, because Swan, it seems like she's constantly relearning the lesson that, quote, weaker women in the power or women who have lower standing are almost ignored. Like they almost aren't, they almost don't pay attention to them because, tower hierarchy almost says, don't worry about them. They're not high enough on the
that
hierarchy to be
child.
important. So
I mean,
that's
the
where
thing
Swan
about-
gets the idea to use accepted, because Nynaeve and Egwene are, more powerful than most, if not all, Aes Sedai in recent memory.
Oh.
And the other thing was, they could maneuver, they could get around with it, and if they got caught, well, they were accepted, so their punishments would be relatively light because they can't be held responsible. So I mean, it's actually a pretty
who's
good
the one
scheme.
in charge of going ahead and doling out their punishment? The one who sent them on the mission in the first place.
Exactly.
I'd like to talk a little bit more
last time, Nynaeve.
about old Miss Guitara Sedai,
Please talk about Guitara Sedai,
because
she
the
does
only
play
place
some
we-
other important roles as well.
Yeah, the only place we ever physically see her, or I say we, that you guys have physically seen her, is in New Spring Chapter 2.
True.
You don't. She's mentioned in the Gathering Storm Chapter 8, but you don't actually see her.
Correct.
And whenever you learn more about her past, you come
mean,
to find
in
out
book
that if
form.
there's... Yeah.
Because
When-
presumably, it's entirely possible that they will just have Moraine monologue what
Oh, yeah.
happens.
Right.
I think that's more
Or-
likely than casting someone to play Guitara. Like, one
Or
time.
we actually see a flashback, and then we'll just actually see her in the show.
I'm down
That
with
might be
whatever.
kind of cool.
I'm
Either
down
way,
with
yeah.
either way.
If there's one person that has done or said more shit, that started more shit and stirred more shit to start, it is Guitara.
You're not wrong.
Because you get almost, without the I lost the adjective I was going to use. I'm not going to use, but assholiness of Elida. Without that, she's like an earlier version, right? Because she was the advisor to Queen Mordrellin Mantir of Andor.
Yarp.
And
Yes.
hey, all you cool dark friends in Shadow Spawn. Andrew here, coming from, my room, aka the editing booth. Let you know that there's a spoiler ahead. If you have not finished reading the Shadow Rising book, you are at risk of a decent spoiler. It's not huge. It's not small. It's just the right size. But that's on me. I wasn't here for the original spoiler warning, so here you go. Spoiler warning now. If you haven't finished the Shadow Rising, you're at risk of being spoiled. That's your warning. Again, sorry guys. She was the one that advised Luke Mantir, that motherfucker. That,
Right?
Lord Luke.
Lord,
Yep.
what a dick.
Lord Luke, or should I say Slayer?
No.
Just unmask him like Scooby-Doo style.
Jesus Christ. He wasn't here for the spoiler warning.
He wasn't.
I guess we can't really fully hold him accountable.
I said we would try to avoid. Well, no, actually,
I'll
we're
edit it
still in
out.
the clear.
The two people that are listening live, I apologize.
Throw out a spoiler warning.
I will
in the
I will throw
edit.
I will throw a
Please.
censor beep in there and just take that part out,
Either way is fine.
or I'll just cut it out. My
Or
apologies.
you-
All right,
or-
so now that's
No,
probably
no,
like
you're
something
good.
I should have
You're good.
asked. Honestly, like,
good.
what's our
You're
spoiler warning?
We
So
did
what-
throw a spoiler warning on for this book completely.
Okay, so is it only New Spring spoilers?
It is.
Well, and we did say that if we were going to spoil other things in the book,
We
which
would
I think we've done a couple
try.
of times, we will do our best to
So we're good.
warn. And so I feel like we're still doing a pretty good job.
Plus, people know the show.
Because if I'm not mistaken, New Spring is supposed to be at earliest enjoyed after Fires of Heaven. Or am I wrong?
Sure.
Is that the recommendation? I didn't know there was a recommendation. We
Because it's
actually
supposed to help like avoid certain things that aren't revealed in the main part of the series about like how all this really truly started.
Sure.
see. I knew
That's
I
why
knew
I
that
don't read it
part.
until like I think after book 5. I think it's book
Right.
5 that I think. I don't know.
I don't know. Either way,
But yeah,
As
anyway,
stated, I read it after Knife of James, so I can't like say where it would be the most ideal.
yeah. So then I don't know if I can actually if we can really talk more about the guitar because I don't want to
do it.
We can.
Do it.
We can.
just do it.
Just get in there, dude. Just get your put your
Get your
hands
guitar
up in
on.
that all the way up to the elbows.
All right. So whoever he may be, I mean, he's got his own hyperlink in the wiki, so access at your own risk, Mr. Luke Mantir.
Luke
Um,
Mantir, that guy.
But his
Luck
sister,
Manter.
Luke's sister, Yeah.
That
But Luke's
fucking
sister
guy.
should be a familiar name as the daughter heir of Andor, old Tigraine.
Oh, hey, I know her. She's on Twitter.
And
Wait
after,
a second. Mom?
yeah, so after Tigraine has Galad, gives birth to Galad, it's Guitarra that advises Tigraine that the fate of the world depends on her journeying into the IL waste and joining the maiden.
Do you think that's part of why he's such an idiot?
Who?
Because mom
Galad.
left.
Galad. Yeah, like or Galad, whatever you want to call him. But, you know, he's so obsessed with right and wrong. Maybe as a child, he was affected by his mother leaving. But they kept saying, well, she did the right thing. We have to believe she did the right thing. And so he got so obsessed with, or maybe they didn't. Maybe they were like, we don't know what happened. She just left in the middle of the night.
I don't think they talked about it, honestly. I don't think they talked about it.
I'm trying to give him a little bit of, I'm trying to cut him some slack here.
Dude, my older brother does not need any slack. It's really okay.
Half brother.
Okay. Why you gotta be like that?
Because that's how I be.
Yeah, because it was like, it was a year after, because it's believed that the grief of losing both of her children, you know, of Luke Mantir and Tigraine Mantir, just, you know, piecing the fuck out of Andor. That's whenever Queen Mordrellin supposedly died, you know, out of sadness for losing her children, and then that's what allowed the Trakan family to take over the Lion Throne. And it was a year after Morghese took over that the Emerlin at the seat, of course, Tamara called Guitarra back to Tar Valon to be her keeper.
Yeah, did Elida jump in then? I want to say she did. Because she had a foretelling. Again, sorry, this is kind of a spoilery moment, but she had a foretelling that the throne of Andor would be the key to winning at Tarmangaiden. So she decided to tie herself to the throne of Andor and started vying for opportunity to be the advisor. I think she did. I think as soon as
seems
Guitarra
like it would
went
actually
back,
be really
do we know
hard
what year
to
she started?
advise the queen anywhere except for the throne room if you're tied to the throne.
Do we know when Elida started as the advisor to Queen Morghese?
I don't know if it's stated. We could definitely look it up.
It would have had to been in like
to necessarily do that right this second.
Yeah, it should have been in like 973 or so.
Yeah,
roughly
I know,
whenever Guitarra left.
I know Elida was ahead. I know she was ahead of the two accepted Swan and Moiraine. So it makes sense that she would have already been raised to the shawl at that point in time. And then, yeah, because it talks about her giving them lessons, I think. I want to say that. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, so the important thing is Guitarra comes back. But before she does, she tells Miss Tigraine to go on her quest. What was that quest, Andrew? What was the quest?
I was trying to figure out what year Elida decided to insert herself places that nobody wanted her.
Basically, Guitarra tells Tigraine that you need to leave.
Yeah,
in
you
the
have
middle
to go
of the night.
into the IO.
You can't tell anyone where you're going. You have to join the Maidens of the Spear in the Isle Waste, and the fate of the world depends on it.
Yep.
And it's like, well, shit, what do you say to that? Like honestly, like that's like, it's like that scene in The Matrix when they've pulled Neo out and Cypher's sitting there and he says, did he tell you why he did it? And Neo just looks at him and just kind of shakes his head, and Cypher goes, "So, what a mind ya! So you're here to save the world? What does a guy say to something like that?" I can just like see that conversation with Guitarra and Tigraine, and Tigraine's like, "Okay, I
also just love, like, clearly."
What do you say to that?
like, clearly Guitar is right. I mean, like, again, at the end of the series here, if you will, we know that Tigraine really needed to do that, and this was incredibly important, and the story would not have gone, it would not have been possible if she hadn't done this. But at the same time, like, okay. But can you just imagine that, like, the next day after telling Tigraine, all of this stuff, Tigraine's gone, and Guitar is just like, oh fuck, that was a prank. She wasn't supposed to actually do that.
Or does Guitarra say, all is proceeding as I have foreseen?
Dude, I actually finally got a chance to see Rise of Skywalker the other day.
You haven't seen it?
I had not until about 3 days ago.
I loved it. I thought it was
I will
poetry.
reserve. I just wanted to let you know that, Josh,
Thank you.
because I know that it means something to you.
My fantasy love is Wheel of Time. My sci-fi love is Star Wars. And yeah.
So what you're saying
that's
is
a
when
whole-
we write the whole Black Tower offshoot, we just need
Drop
to
in
make
knowledge.
it somehow cross over into Star Wars.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. On it.
maybe our characters find some kyber crystals.
Well, I mean, as per the story of Star Wars, at some point, all of the Ashiman are going to need to meet Emperor Palpatine.
Well, that's of course.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a given.
That's just all there is to it. So so Guitarra tells Tigraine, go be a maiden of the spear. Don't tell anybody where you're going. Tigraine disappears, and for all intents, they all think she's dead. Like there's no way. They're all like, she just went into the Isle Waste. She did. Sorry, that's just how it is.
She did.
That sets off a chain of events that actually Rand discusses when he finds this out, because he's like, oh my god. So if my mom
did the thing.
never went there, and they would have never done this, and then they never would have done this, and then this would have never happened, and this would have, and he kind of gets like, I like to call it as him like kind of peeking at the pattern, because the wheel weaves, brah. It does. It just does. And there's really not a lot you can do about it. And I think one of the most beautiful pieces of literature is when they talk about Ta'Viren shaping the world around them. But in the end, Ta'Viren still kind of just end up doing what they were supposed to do in the first place. And so it's a way of like making things easier more immediately, but ultimately their destiny is the same. Like even Ta'Viren can't escape their destiny. And I love that.
Fear
My
it.
brain just exploded.
Run from it. Do whatever. The destiny still arrives all the same.
Or
Couldn't deal with your failure. And where did it bring you back?
back to
Straight
me.
to the pad.
Back to my taint.
There you go. Oh, or you could say,
Why?
Back to
Why?
the taint, episode 2.
Why?
Marty,
I
we've
was
gotta go back.
I was gonna go Master Oogway and be like, one often meets his destiny on the path he takes to avoid it.
All right, Confucius.
But yeah, it's great. So there's like a domino effect happening right now. Eventually, we don't
Domino's
know.
not even in this. She's an X-Men. What
She's
the fuck are you talking about?
super.
No, she's X-Force.
She's X-Force.
They're forward
Not X-Men.
thinking.
Okay,
don't use
it
an outdated
depends
metaphor
on
for
which
racism in the 50s.
comic you're looking at, but okay, if y'all want to be assholes about it.
So
It's what Ryan Reynolds
all
said,
of this
so I take it as the
backstory,
gospel
now
truth.
you know a little bit more. Oh, wait, and that's the gospel truth. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we
Full
already
circle.
did that. Stop.
Full
What are you-
circle.
what are you doing?
Volker.
I'm bringing it full circle.
No.
So Tigraine goes to the waste. Guitarra's like, all right, now we got some preparations to make. Oh, by the way, I'm going back to Valon. So have some fun. You guys, without me, Elida's like, yo, what up, Andor? She waits for the... Actually, no, I can confirm, because I remember now. She is the one who advises Morghese because she sees House Trakand as being most likely to take the throne. So she begins advising Morghese and helps her take the throne.
I mean,
Boom.
I think there's got to be a gap because she is Aes Sedai. Elida is Aes Sedai by the time she starts advising Queen Morghese, and Suan and Moraine don't become Aes Sedai until after they witness Katara's foretelling. So it's going to be after this year of gone back. So there's like a year's worth of time, maybe a year and a half, where there is no Aes Sedai advisor
by the time,
in Andor.
Yes, because that's the succession. That's when that's that whole vying for the crown, vying for the throne.
And it was the best of times when no Tarvalon witches were trying to sit on the shoulder of the queen and tell him what to do.
Well, actually, that's
best
not true because Elida was helping Morghese
no
in
power here.
So, blap. So now that you know who Katara is, we don't get a lot on Tamra. She's the Amarillan seat. Like, that's just how she is. Like, they just be like, oh yeah, she's Amarillan. She badass because she's Amarillan, and we know what that means.
Where's the multicolored stole of I'm never wrong?
And
you know
she
all
sends
of the other Amarillans?
She said, yeah, right, dude. Oh,
oh
shit, was that out loud?
Nicely
Shit,
played,
my bad, guys.
So, yeah, that was kind of out loud. You actually kind of you was in Angerman. You actually kind of shouted it.
Arcanus, I don't want to disagree with you, but they are absolutely accepted.
Yes,
because that's part of why Elida.
But he's agreeing with you.
Kind of,
he's disagreeing.
Well, it's not even kind of about it. Doesn't like Suan and Moraine. Like, she feels that they were coddled, that they were given shit that they shouldn't have had because they made it to Aes Sedaihood, to sisterhood,
right, of
the traveling shawls before Elida did. Because how dare you have anything Elida doesn't have?
I love it.
The sisterhood of the traveling shawls.
Also, you know, and this is a side note. Swan and Moraine were pillow friends. Just saying.
Oh yeah.
Pillow friends. So so some things actually do happen because Tamra is not the Amarillan who turns over the stole to Swan. It's actually Marith Jane.
John Jacob.
I don't know how to say her last
Smith.
name. But
his name is my name. No? Okay.
She is the Amarillan. She had a very unsuccessful Amarillan seat ship, and was able to, and then, you know, Swan was able to ascend to the Amarillan seat. And there's a lot of people that say Elida could have been Amarillan, except for she was so closely tied to Andor. So we've got kind of the setting, right?
Yeah, bitch.
Swan and her lofty career ahead of her. Moraine as the hunter of the dragon. She is sent out to find the dragon reborn. Swan stays back in the tower to cover for Moraine. And this is the story. The fun begins after Moraine leaves the tower. Some time passes after the foretelling of Katara, and obviously they're both raised to the shawl, and Tamra is now dead, and so now there are only two people in the world who know that the dragon has been reborn, or the dragon has been reborn. And Swan tells Moraine as soon as she's raised to the shawl, go GTFO and find him. So now Moraine, 17, 18, 19 years later, is now looking for the dragon reborn. That's her one goal in life. She has no warder. She has very little coin to her name. She has enough because she's Aes Sedai and she can do whatever the hell she wants. And she starts wandering. Well, where do her wanderings take her? To the Borderlands, because she thinks, oh, he was born okay on the slopes of Mount Doom, or on Dragon Mount, and there were a lot of people on Dragon Mount, and most of them were Borderlanders, so I'm going to go to the Borderlands. So she spends a lot of time in the Borderlands, where she meets Mr. Lawn.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Fantastic.
Actually, that was one of the big reasons that Moraine flees the tower so quickly. Not only just because of her mission, there is actually a selfish reason as well. The Amarillan at the time says, I want you to be the queen of Carrion. And Moraine's like, no.
She's just like,
I really don't
Interesting.
want to.
time to hit the old dusty
Nope.
trail.
Not happening.
So she flees. Yep, that's what she's like. I'm
You
out.
might want me to take over as
Up,
queen,
out,
but my family kind of has a
Behatch.
tendency fairly
This ain't
recently of just
happening.
kind of noping out of shit. So
just kind of ending up dead. It's kind of weird. I don't like it. I don't want to be a part of that. I ain't feeling that jazz. So she is. Let's see. She goes to the Borderlands to get away, and she's kind of like, well, you can't make me queen if you don't know where I am. So peace. Heads up to the Borderlands. She meets Lan. I actually think this
You
is
can't put
actually
a crown on my head if you don't know where my head's at.
boom.
Bitch.
And this is actually one of my favorite parts is when she meets Lan and she's like, hey, Lan and like 2 or 3 other guys. She's like, here, let me pay you all to escort me safely across. And they're all like pissed off. They're all like insulted. They're like, excuse me, you're in the Borderlands? And we're honor bound to escort you and keep you safe. Milady. And it's actually pretty insulting that you're paying us right now. But Lan had a mentor, and I can't remember the guy's name. Lan had a mentor who was like, look, there's Southlanders. These Southlanders don't know what they're doing. Just be cool. It's okay. And then I think they ended up like donating the money to someone else or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's between you and Daniel.
Someone want to pick it up from there, or do I have to go through this whole book?
I mean, if you want to be an asshole about it. I mean, to be completely honest, the events of the book aren't super interesting. It is the character development and
that's
the character arcs.
100% what it is.
So plot-wise, basically, we can now just sum up the book as Moraine, boy meets girl.
It's power leveling.
Boy and girl bond to each other. They travel around the Borderlands. Moraine gets thrown into a pond.
And then Moraine throws a pond on land.
And then, yes, and then we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. And then they travel around the Borderlands a little bit more. And then they end in a city called Chachin. Chatchit,
Chachin.
city.
Chachin. Ha ha ha.
Where there is this kind of epic battle, which is actually really cool. Again, the battle itself is kind of epic. Between Moraine and Marine. Because she is Black Aja, which of course is kind of a little weird, because like at the beginning of the books, everybody's like, psh, Black Aja doesn't exist. And Moraine's not one of them. And she knows that the Black Aja exists, kinda. I know, in the book it does leave it vague enough that they give themselves an out. But still.
Lon actually has a pretty badass line.
Dude, he has a few, but which one are you talking about?
Well, he has many, but I'm trying.
I meant just in
find
New
it.
Spring.
That's what I'm
there's,
saying.
like,
In New Spring,
fucking dozens of them in the books. Dozens of them. Dozens! But anyway, so in this epic fight, Lan basically ditches her because he realizes that he is not going to be able to help her. And I think she actually even sort of says that. And she's like, get the fuck out of here, because you're just going to die. I just got to fight these people. Well, this person. But ends up going ahead and killing a bunch of people. And basically, yeah, they I don't know. Lon pieces out. He goes over and he waits for her outside the city because he's like, I said I business, not my business. And then Moraine kills some people and goes outside, and they have this like really intimate, wonderful moment where, again, like if you read it at the very beginning of your read through, you're like 100% sure that Lon and Moraine are gonna fuck forever. But she basically tells him everything, and like one of his really good friends loses their daughter. And she's like really apologetic for it because it's a little bit of her hubris that gets the daughter killed. But he accepts her, and he becomes her warder, and this is actually where the bond happens. Like they're definitely working up to it the entire book. Because of course, again, by the time it was written,
well, and we all know,
knew
yeah,
exactly, that Moraine and Lon were going to be forever together. Well, not forever, but at least by the beginning of Eye of the World, that they were inseparable. And it's, as I said, it's actually this really kind of wonderful moment between two platonic people that you don't really get to see that much of in the books. Because I think every instance of somebody becoming a warder in the other series is out of love or out of desperation. There's never like a moment where we really get to see two people bond that aren't in one of those two situations. Because, of course, there's Brigitte, and then there's Nynaeve and Lon, and then there's the trio and Rand, and Egwene and Gawain. And I think those are the only times that we really see the warder bond happen. And again, they're all out of... Oh, no, there's the Ashman bonding. Never mind.
Yeah, there's also Alana force bonding.
Yeah, and that one doesn't count.
That one doesn't count, yeah.
That one's a rape.
I did find the quote, though, by the way.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah?
And it was after they had fought, after Lan had fought Rhine, and he had defeated Rhine, and Moraine says, oh, well, it seems Rhine was wrong. As well as a dark friend, you were better than he. And Lan says, nope, he was better. But he thought I was finished with only one arm. He never understood. You surrender after you're dead.
Yep.
Such a badass. Lan is just... Lan, I'm not going to be able to do it, guys. I'm sorry. Lan is just...
It's a flesh wound.
He's like the perfect example of like the consummate warrior. He is just so amazing at but it's not just about... I think they do a really good job with Lan about saying it's not just about killing things. He's not just really good at, putting the pointy end into some of the other people,
Stick him with the pointy end.
He is also really good at, inspiring others, teaching others, leading others. And he's also really good at, he's got that indomitable spirit, and he knows what his destiny is. He's faced it, he understands it, and he's very, very akin to a samurai or a Viking warrior, where they just aren't afraid of dying. They're just like, no, you don't get it. If I commit to a battle, I'm seeing this thing through, and there's going to be one result: either you dead or me dead. And that's it.
And
Land
either
just
is
lives
okay
his
with
life with the
I'm gonna
phrase,
do my
"It
best to
is
go
what
ahead
it
and make
is,"
it you, but either is
Right.
which
okay
of course
with
in Wheel of Time is the
Let's be
infamous
clear.
"The will weaves as the will wills."
Yes.
Well, that's why
Probably.
Moraine says it all the time because she just feels it constantly through the bond.
Dude.
It is just
She's
a
freaking out. I
constant
gotta find the
state of
dragon.
Lon just being like, the wheel weaves, and if I die, I die. I was dead.
Death is
I'm already
easy.
dead.
Death,
I've been dead for so many years. I just haven't. It hasn't caught up to me yet.
right.
That's
Death.
basically Lon's feeling on the entire book series. And Moraine's just like, how do you live like this?
Right though? Yeah, they end up fighting some dark friends, and it's really cool because they have like sort of a love-hate frenemies type friendship for the first half, maybe 2/3 of the book.
Oh yeah, it's
And
very antagonistic.
As they start to, track down some of these, interesting little plot points, they start realizing, oh, we're dealing with dark friends here. And then of course, just as you said, there's an epic battle, and everybody goes, oh shit, here come that Lon.
Right.
And everybody's like, so they do this thing. And then at the end of the book, you get the final moment, the culminating moment, which is Moiraine bonding Lan, her warder, and saying, hey, this is my mission. I think she tells him beforehand, right?
She tells him pieces. Like, she definitely gives him enough information that he knows what he's getting into, but not the whole thing. She definitely doesn't give him the entire breadth of the situation until the end. That's when she really lays on. And again,
I'm saying, does he know what he knows that she's looking for the dragon when she bonds him?
Yes, she does tell him enough that he doesn't go in blind to all of this different stuff. But right before she bonds him, she actually tells him like the gravity of the situation, and he's like, cool.
Yeah, he it's kind of like a last chance. She's kind of like, this is your last chance. I'm not kidding here. The dragon is alive. He has been reborn. He's probably 12 at this point in time. I'm looking for him. We must find him. This is it. After this, there's no turning back. And he was like, again, he kind of did the whole, well, I've been dead for years. So, if I can help the dragon reborn, maybe
one more death wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, right.
No, and to be completely honest, the relationship between Moraine and Lon, and one of the things that I love New Spring as a book, and just the information and the character development that it gives us. I see Moraine and Lon very much as Tony Stark and Stephen Strange. Because both of them are really, really, really good at two very different aspects of what they do. Lon is sort of the Tony Stark as far as he's very good with the sword. He's very good at it with his hands. He's very good at sort of real world applications of physical stuff.
Very pragmatic.
Moraine, very pragmatic. Moraine is very, very good with the power, and she is very creative, and she's very learned, and she is very intuitive when it comes to the mystic arts of Randland, if you will, of the power.
And a little bit of a deeper
really
thinker.
Totally, they don't like each other that much at the beginning. Both of them are a little too haughty for the other.
Yes.
Lon, because again, he does have that sort of mentality of I'm already dead and I'm also from the Borderlands and you have no idea what you're doing here. Why are you even here? Stop insulting people. What are you doing?
Basically.
And Moraine is very much like, I'm an Aes Sedai. I've just been raised. I am so egotistical, it's not even funny.
Right.
In that sort of phase of where she is, and they very much respect the other person because they've seen them do cool things almost immediately.
Well,
Like,
and
it's very early on in their relationship that they both see that the other person is very good at what they do. But again, it's very much still like but I don't like your attitude kind of thing.
it's really cool, I think, to see a younger Moraine and a younger Lan who haven't really come into they haven't really hit their stride yet.
Yes.
And I love, because even it makes their disagreements in Eye of the World and Great Hunt, those early on, as they would disagree, it makes those disagreements so much more fun in a way, because you almost get to the point where you're like, okay, so they've been bickering at each other for 20 years now. Not 20, but probably more like 5 to 10 years. But they've been bickering at each other for a long time now, and they still do it. And they've definitely got a mutual respect. And to borrow your Avengers metaphor, when you say, Tony Stark and Stephen Strange, well, Tony Stark and Stephen Strange actually work together really well when they take on again, Thanos on the planet Titan. And it's just, obviously they didn't do so well in that confrontation, but Moraine and Lan,
they did very well in that confrontation.
Yeah, they do really, really well. So
it was somebody else coming in and messing it up, which again, we've already talked about it, and I really like that decision. It was a great moment, but it's not Tony Stark or Stephen Strange who fucks that up.
Well, yeah. But that's a conversation for a different night.
Yeah, but again, and I love the idea that again later on in the fuck you, the idea of in the Avengers story, you have these two characters who are really just archetypical characters, and I'm just using them sort of as their archetypes. Where they only have a relationship that is so short that you don't really see them get to work together as respectful equals later on, because of course, spoiler alert, Tony Stark dies.
Hey!
Like really soon into the amount of time that Stephen Strange and Tony Stark know each other. Well, actually, to be fair, Stephen Strange dies.
He dies
pretty
first,
soon into their thing, and then Tony Stark dies as soon as Doctor Strange is brought back to life. But again, there is this idea of at the end when Tony Stark does the thing and Stephen Strange is there is this ridiculous amount of respect that they feel for each other, even though they've only known each other for so long. And you can see and feel that those two men, in this case, this man and this woman, would work really well together and have really great conversations and great, success with each other were they given time. And that is what we see with the archetypes of Moraine and Lan, is that they do that for many years. They get over that hurdle of this bitch and, this arrogant borderlander, like relatively quickly. And then they just spend years in that space of just respectful teamwork.
So, I have a question for the two of you.
Great relationship kind of thing.
So, having
Agreed.
Obviously read the core series
it's a power dynamic.
and read Newspring,
hit it.
Power dynamic.
How important or unimportant do you feel Newspring is for readers to actually read? Is it important enough to have a significant impact on the story to where it's one of those things like, if you don't read this, you fucked yourself?
No. No, short answer
No.
is absolutely no.
No.
It is absolutely unnecessary to the book series. You can completely ignore it and get everything out of the main series
Yep.
without a problem.
Yep.
Now, I am going to say, and here are sort of my last thoughts on it, which is just sort of the longer answer to your question. I do really think that people who enjoy the main series should read New Spring. It does actually give you a different look at characters that you've fallen in love with. It really does do a really good job of being a Star Wars story, solo and whatnot. And very enjoyable, and really does give awesome character looks into characters. But at the end of the day, if you don't have time to, if you don't have interest to, if this does not appeal to you, then ignore it, because it is
What say
definitely
you,
not
all bearded
necessary
mad one?
to enjoy any piece of the main series.
The bearded
And-
madness.
I would say
He says evil laugh.
it's one of those. Is it necessary to appreciate the series as a whole? No, it is not. You can read, Eye of the World all the way up to A Memory of Light and call it good and say, damn, that was a good story. But I believe it's like, it's like having a cake with icing on it. And everybody's like, oh, look, it's a cake with icing. It's great. But what if you could have a cake with some icing and some like bomb ass like cake decorations like Cake Boss does? That is what it is. Like, it's an accent, it's a flair. So what I would recommend, if you want to read New Spring, I would recommend sort of the path that I took, which is to read the main series first, then read New Spring, then do a reread and get all the way through, and add that foundation of New Spring to your experience as you go through it the second time. Because I don't know. It's not necessary. Short answer, it's not necessary. Long answer, you don't have to, but that's like passing on seconds of a really good meal. Because if you want to go back and get more Lon and more Moraine, it's so worth it. It's so good. You get more of the characters you love. And and that's kind of where I leave it.
Making a
While you were
lot
talking
of
about
assumptions
it,
about loving characters there.
I actually really like that, thinking about it as you've got this cake with icing and it's amazing and it's perfect. And New Spring is like a nice little cup of espresso.
Ooh!
It's not even really part of the cake. Like, it is, because it's part of the meal. But it's not even really part of the cake. But it does make the cake that much better.
Dude, that's
what I'm going to say.
That was nicely put.
I mean, it's none of that question. The answers to that question aren't going to affect whether I read it or not.
No,
I still
I mean,
am.
It's how many years since you said that you were going to read New Spring and you still haven't? So I don't.
Do we need to start a counter? Do we need to start a counter and be like,
actually, if anything, it's coming up on maybe a year, maybe year and a half,
dude?
Because when I went through and I just fucking trudged through the I say trudged like it was hard. When I read through the entire core series,
it's keep talking.
I didn't even
keep talking shit.
When I finished Memory of Light, I didn't even know for like at least 2 or 3 months after I finished A Memory of Light, the New Spring was even a thing. Somehow that fucking I just missed the whole radar on that. And so now I'm I forgot what part, but I'm in A Memory of Light now. So
nice.
I'm gonna savor that. But it's, this is the reason why I always ask. I say always ask. I like hearing what people say about New Spring because I already know for a fact that I cannot read any part of New Spring and still know everything I need to know about the series. That it's it's that extra little lore that the DM has put behind the character that it doesn't really affect that much how you deal with the characters and how you interact. But it's cool to know. And it's cool that Robert Jordan, went through the effort of giving this extra backstory and felt that there was enough backstory and that it was important enough backstory to warrant its own release.
Yes.
And I really like the fact that I fully believe that he 100% intentionally planned on doing this prequel novel and intentionally waited until after Fires of Heaven for it to come out. So that
Agreed.
Whether you read New Spring or not, you still knew everything. You didn't lose any information. You didn't gain plot critical insider information. It just gives you more to enjoy about characters that most people absolutely adore.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
I agree.
Very well put. So
how did you do that so well, having not read New Spring?
Because
I have
Andrew's
a bachelor's of
badass.
political science. I literally have a degree in bullshitting people. All right.
Andrew is a badass. That's what it
I
is.
wouldn't say that. I'm just good at bullshitting people.
I am saying it. Okay.
He's a badass at bullshit.
So thank you so much
motherfuckers.
for listening in. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much
Indeed
for listening to our tangent-filled episode about A New Spring, a Wheel of Time prequel, and a prequel free of Jar Jar Binks. Oh, wait, what? Anyway, if you like this, you can check us out on Podbean. That's our main platform there. We generally also make sure
what let us put up this stuff.
Right. We also have a feed that goes into Spotify, Google Podcast, iTunes Podcast, all the good places that you want to put this podcast gold into your ears. If you like what you hear and if you want to help out with the show, we are always grateful to have our Patreons come in and help us with the cost of running the show. You guys are great, fantastic. We love you. And if you want to join in and just listen along, hey, guess what? You can do that too. It's awesome. We love having you. Join our Discord.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk to us on our Discord. Things are great. Reach out to us at Tower Podcast on Twitter. Reach out to us at Black Tower Pod on Instagram. Reach out to us at, blacktowerpod at Gmail. Did I get it right this time?
Yep.
On our email. Boom! I am on fire. Yes!
It's almost like you're finally getting used to this.
It's almost like I'm a part of the show. But no, we want to thank you. We want to say you're awesome. We want to say that we love you. And from the Black Tower, I have been.
We want to say all that, but we can't.
We want to, yeah. But
it's a joke.
We're under an NDA.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
before
I
we
have
actually
been
go-
your storm leader.
Before we actually go, I do want to throw out one thing. For those of you who are listening live,
good
if
point.
you have not yet done so, please pop over to the polls that are currently going on Twitter.
Oh my God! How could we forget
we are
that?
actually doing a
Please
poll
vote on our polls.
to have
Please
a
tell us if our polls
solid
are good enough.
name for our fandom that is actually decided on by the fandom, so that everyone has a voice and everyone can go ahead and have a say in what we call ourselves moving forward. It's up right now. I think not who's actually hosting it right this second.
It is
another turning.
Another
turning.
turning.
There we go.
They're hosting round
Fantastic
2
podcast.
Yes, you can go ahead and obviously find it from our Twitter as well. We have, been retweeting and voting and things on the Black Tower podcast, so you can absolutely get to it from there. We are hoping that a couple of other people will go ahead and host the next couple of rounds, but we are currently in round 2.
That's one thing we do
definitely
need
get
to
over
say.
there
Because
and vote.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
My apologies,
go ahead,
Daniel. Don't
Andrew.
beat me, please. Not again. No, if for those of you that are listening live right now, obviously that information is 100% current as you're listening to it right then and there. For those of you that are listening on the date the episode comes out, I'm sorry. My fault. Go ahead, Daniel. You know what? Go ahead. Go ahead.
For those of you who are currently listening to the episode, if you are listening to it on Friday, I'm not actually sure what round we will be in.
Round three.
Please go over round 3 is what we're going to be in. Nice. So definitely pop over, and we are not 100% sure who's going to be hosting it, but again, you will absolutely be able to get to it through our Twitter. So show the people who have hosted it love. Show the polls some love. We definitely want everyone's voice heard in this, so please go over there and vote. And if you are listening to this after, we may still be in a round that you can join, so pop on over and see if it's still going on, or just pop on over and see what the result is so that you know sort of what hashtags to look for and things like that, because we absolutely would love for you to be part of all of that.
Yeah. So there's going to be a total of 7 rounds, which I can tell because Josh has done an amazing job of putting together the sheet.
Yep.
Round 2 is a semi-partial round.
Round 2.
But this is done so that the numbers of the bracket actually add up and work out, and nobody's overwhelmed at one time.
Right.
So.
Yes. Especially, though, not limited to the fact that we would like this to be as inclusive as possible. And so we are hoping that we can get other creators in to host it. And to make it more reasonable is just a nice thing to do for other people who are also creating content.
It's true.
Because just throwing an Excel spreadsheet at them and just being like, do it, batch, is just not nice.
Yep. But if you're ever uncertain of where we're at in how this is going, the sheet is out there. You can go and look at that and see where we currently are if you can't tell by the tweets that are out.
That's right.
Yep.
So,
but other than that, Josh, if you want to start what I interrupted earlier.
I was just going to say that, from all of us at the Black Tower, I have been your storm leader, your Sorovan Mahale, Josh.
I have been your battle leader, your Bijan Mahale. English. That's not English. I've been your I can't pronounce words leader, Andrew.
And I have been your Ammon Khan Mahale, the one who holds the flag, not the Confederate flag, you fucks. Daniel. And from all of us here at the Black Tower podcast, have a lovely rest of your morning. And in case we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.